Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, 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 friends. It is another Super Sunday, and this is Power Time with your host, you live from Power in Nursing Innovations. So, thank you all for joining us today, and we're just going to do a few little things before we all depart for some better places and spaces and maybe even dinner on a Sunday evening. So, thank you so much. And today, as always, we appreciate your participation and your questions and your comments. So let's let it roll. And of course, if you're coming through on replay, make sure you just enter hashtag replay and we will communicate back with you ASAP. But today, you know, me and the news, me and the news. And today's topic is what? The nursing shortage and Maga. And it really is, everything is just so upside down almost every time I turn on the news. But it is important for us to pay attention to what's going on in the world and be aware, alert, and participate in the process for change because that's who we are. That's what we do. And today it came to my mind as I saw a message that was related to the Maga folks and the issues related to immigration and how that, funnels over to deportation. We're not going to go through all of those numbers, but they are connected, immigration and deportation. And it does seem in many places that individuals don't really have the right information, or they don't understand, or they don't care. And we know that it's going to be pretty difficult to diagnose which way they're going. But remember that we are still those persons who are in the place of service for health and wellness. So remember that as we have just experienced that COVID pandemic, that many of us are quite aware of one at least significant impact or influence of the pandemic, and it's not a good one. It's called a nursing shortage or staffing shortage. How we lost so many more healthcare givers, healthcare providers, healthcare workers, whatever you want to call them, because of the COVID pandemic. Because we'd never experienced that before, and I mean we like the world. And so COVID pandemic has really been identified as a matter that related to the nursing shortage. And it's a shortage from and for every almost component of anyone who worked in the world, whether it was a grocery deliverer, cashier, whatever it was, working in a gas station, whatever it was, they were influenced by the pandemic and the shortage of staff. And here we are today still working through, or at least thinking through, what the shortage meant for health systems and healthcare system availability of staff. And in the past years, we know, even before COVID, that, there was shortages here and there were international sources, Canada, United Kingdom and the Philippines that have been sought out for healthcare provider systems to fill some of the gaps because those persons could be available with similar education and with at least the sources for expertise and licensure were international as well. And so here we are today. We've lost many, many nurses, and the shortage continues. Many, many nurses in the U.S., and the shortage continues. So, how do we fill the gaps? And it came to my attention today that many, and there's not a number to that, but many Maga folks were really stressed out because they've been the woo on the line, calling, shouting, sending messages. Social media has been overwhelmed with they want to make sure that immigrants were shuffled out of this country, out of the United States. Well, how many of you know or believe that so many of those persons were educated to understand that many nurses worldwide have come to the United States before the pandemic to fill in slots for staffing shortages? Well, that makes you have to back up and think back to, as we talk about working together and for each other and for the patients and the communities and the organizations, how many people know who nurses are, what they do, how they're educated, and how they can reach spaces in different countries across the world to serve when there is a shortage? Yes, in the United Kingdom. Yes, in South Africa. Yes, in India. Yes, in the Philippines and Canada. There are nurses that come from those places that pack up and come here to the United States to serve and fill those shortages. And if Florence Nightingale was here today, she'd tell you about how nurses came from different countries to care for the soldiers on the field, even though they were from another country. Maybe France, maybe Jamaica, maybe India, to care for those persons who needed health care and wellness strategies that nurses were not available in the host country, or there were some other issues. But during that time, the health organizations put through contracts to bring those persons to serve those in their country that need care. And we're at the same places because during COVID, many nurses died and many nurses actually just quit. They just couldn't take it anymore. And upon that time, did anyone in the places of guiding and legal care and service think about the future? What would happen if COVID was still going on today. Many nurses died, and there are many, many shortages in organizations. And do they think that those shortages will be filled by graduate nurses? Well, that could be possible because many of those organizations really, really don't know what nurses know and what nurses need to know in order to provide safe and effective care. And so, as the message for day one deportation has been flowing through, we're counting down the days till the next provider of presidential care. I'll just call it that because, ooh, I don't know what that will really mean. But President-elect has defended the visa program in the past and through his first service and even in his prior businesses to allow, as we would call them, or as they have been called, highly skilled foreign workers to immigrate to the United States to work in those spaces that were really necessary to be have service provided by experts and highly trained specialists. And even though those places and spaces may not have been touching people, they might have been those data spaces and those types of places that were requiring high working specialists. So those folks were allowed to get visas from wherever they came from. Many of the restrictions were related to speaking the language of the host country, like English as we speak here in the US. But those visas were allowed for those foreign workers. And even today, those types of visas are required for professional nurses to serve in other countries like the US. We have received nurses that were trained for nursing care and service in Canada, United Kingdom, and the Philippines. And it's been quite usual. Even in my older days, yes, we had nurses that came from Canada and the Philippines caring for the patients in our organizations. We made sure, and that is we, as in the organization, made sure that those persons were respectively certified to care for those patients in the host area. And that means they must speak English, they must pass NCLEX, and there are other specifics that they must pass with high degrees in order to work in the United States. Well, that's not quite the same as what President elect had required for his persons, and many, many from the Philippines came to the U.S. to build his spaces and places, hotels, golf courses, etc., 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 data boosting and resources and such and such. And so the technology that agricultural jobs is not the same as that required for nursing. But today, yesterday, and tomorrow, you'll find the same Maga forces throwing down the hammer and wanting immigrants to go back. Now, go back to where? Hmm. Just fill in that blank later. I'll let you think about that. If we're bringing folks to build, to farm, and to serve as healthcare professionals, with the exception of physicians, there are a number of items they must clear absolutely before they can come to the U.S. to serve. And the Department of Labor posts all of the requirements, all of them. And it is important that each person is screened. And that's how it works. And remember that nurses are not the same as what? Of agricultural residents and or constructionists and or any of those things. Picking fruit, building stop signs, building the next new hotels, and or even reframing the Pentagon. Things like that. How can we as in nurses, find our way to fill some of the gaps in the shortage for nurses? If there is such particular screening, which is already in service, that MAGA folks don't know about. They didn't know about who nurses were or what they did, maybe even before. And as I say, information is power. But we must remember that no one that is a technologist can replace a nurse at the bedside. That's not the same thing. And we wouldn't want to do what they do either. So let's pay attention to what the cost is. If we don't have the rules and the regulations that go along with the requirements for the visa programs, we have to make sure that the guidance for the requirements is something that is well known by and for the organizations who will be looking to staff their organizations. Every requirement is absolutely necessary. Yes, each and every nurse must pass NCLEX if they're here in Georgia or they're coming here from the United Kingdom for a staffing program. It's the way it must be because the care and service is required through licensure. And immigration is important component of our ability to find people that can help us provide the care and services that are needed. We can't sit in every hospital who has lost lots of their nurses, whether through illness or just can't take anymore. We have to be able to fill the shortage in order to have enough care and service for those who are ill. And foreign workers and immigration programs can fill the slots with making sure each of those markers is completed. And the employment-based visas allow nurses to work here in the U.S. And to be eligible, yes, the nurses must have several years of experience and or and education that counts for the training. And when they come here, they have additional training. So healthcare employers are the sponsors of those nurses to help them obtain those visas so that they can serve here. And nursing is set. Nursing is set on the front lines for healthcare. Include the physical resources and the human resources. Where can you find those hidden gifts? There are some in the United Kingdom, some in the Philippines that are available. How will nursing survive the next health crisis if we don't prepare for the staffing shortages that we've seen following the nursing shortage of the COVID pandemic? We've got to prepare for the immigration challenges that we will see, and we've got to do it now. We can't wait. We can't wait to find that, oh, there's another shortage of nurses, or more nurses have just quit. We can't wait for that. Can non-citizens who are seeking admission as non-immigrants or migrants, how can they reach the U.S. to serve, to perform labor as healthcare workers, to be a solution, or temporary or not, to the nursing shortage? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? And what about survival for patients, for colleagues, for health organizations, for every other part of the healthcare team that's connected with patient care? We have to make sure that we understand what we are seeing and hearing related to deportation and immigration, wrong influences, wrong information. We have got to be prepared for the new year, whether it is related to vaccine information is already a challenge, and it will continue as the new leaders do or don't have the right information or understanding about health and wellness and care and service. Information is power, and we must be prepared to solve the problems, the upcoming problems that will not go away. If there are children who are not getting vaccines and they are not going to school, that's one problem. But there's another problem if they're not getting vaccines and going to school, and they are sharing some of the viruses or bacteria that the vaccines could make go away. It's something that will influence the numbers of nurses, the numbers of healthcare providers will be a problem. And we can't ignore it. We cannot die either waiting for the answers to those questions. So thinking. Be well, my friends. And 2025 is coming. Who will make the decisions about health and wellness for the patients in the communities? And how will that affect the caregivers in those homes in the communities and those healthcare providers in the organizations that will see many sick persons come for help? We've got to get a ball rolling. Get the ball rolling. Solutions to health and wellness challenges can't wait until it's a pandemic. We've seen that before. So let's get together and work through how we can find solutions together. Together we must. And each of you is a leader. You are a leader. Help your new grads and help each other solve problems and stay well. My friends, we'll see you soon. And remember, you matter. You've got to take your solutions to the front lines, and we'll be better and create better solutions together. Be well, my friends, and we'll see you soon. Power in Nursing is your friend. Our our website is up and we're ready to see and serve you at Power in Nursing. We will see you soon. Be well and bring a friend for your next visit at PowerTime. We'll see you soon. Be well and enjoy the rest of your holidays. Bye-bye now.